Have you ever looked at your backyard and felt a quiet tug of frustration, perhaps, in your lower back or deep in your wallet? Every spring the ritual begins. We head to the big box garden centers, loading up carts with heavy bags of topsoil, synthetic fertilizers, and plastic-wrapped amendments. It feels like a subscription model. We never signed up for a cycle where we constantly buy inputs to keep a hungry garden alive, only to watch the nutrients wash away with the first heavy rain. But what if I told you there's a design born from necessity in some of the harshest climates on Earth that turns this entire model on its head? Imagine a garden that feeds itself from your kitchen scraps, uses 66% less water, and brings the harvest up to your waist, so you never have to kneel in the dirt again. This isn't just a raised bed, it's a living, breathing ecosystem known as the keyhole garden. Today, we're going to look at how this simple African innovation can unlock a new level of self-sufficiency in your own American homestead. To understand the genius of the keyhole, we have to travel back to the mid-1990s in the Kingdom of Lesotho, Southern Africa. This land is beautiful but unforgiving, rocky soil, dry air, and a climate that tests the spirit of any farmer. During that time, communities were struggling with more than just drought. The HIV/AIDS epidemic had left many families weakened, lacking the physical strength for traditional back-breaking labor. Humanitarian groups like Sea Safe and CARE stepped in, but they didn't just bring seeds, they brought a design for dignity. They needed a garden that was ergonomic, high enough for someone to tend while standing or sitting, sturdy enough to lean on, and compact enough that every plant was within an arm's reach. They created a circle of life where the waste from the kitchen became the fuel for the next meal. Today, over 20,000 of these gardens exist in Lesotho alone, proving that when we work with nature's circular logic, we don't just survive, we thrive. From a bird's eye view, this garden looks exactly like an old-fashioned skeleton keyhole. It's a circular raised bed, usually about 6 feet in diameter, with a small wedge-shaped notch cut into one side. That notch is your access point, a path that lets you walk straight to the heart of the garden without ever stepping on the soil. In the very center of that circle sits the engine, a composting basket. This isn't just a hole in the ground. It's a porous tower made of wire or sticks that allows nutrients and moisture to diffuse outward into the surrounding soil. By planting in a circle around this central core, you're creating a target-rich environment for roots to find exactly what they need. It's a design that eliminates wasted space and maximizes every drop of water you provide. Why does this work so much better than a standard flat bed? It comes down to two things: capillary action and biological workforce. When you pour water into the central compost basket, it doesn't just sink. It dissolves the nutrients from your kitchen scraps and carries them outward through the soil layers. Think of the garden like a giant sponge. The nutrient-rich compost tea moves through the soil by diffusion, reaching the root zone directly instead of evaporating off the surface. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, you've invited a workforce that never takes a day off: earthworms. They are drawn to the moisture and food in the center basket, tunneling in to eat and then moving back out into the soil, leaving behind nutrient-dense castings and creating air channels as they go. This process, known as bioturbation, keeps your soil loose and fertile for 5 to 7 years without ever needing a tiller. The first time you build one, the proof doesn't arrive like magic, it arrives like a quiet measurement. In the early weeks, the bed slumps as the layers settle, and that can look like failure to a new gardener. But watch what happens after a few regular feedings. Drop in vegetable peels, coffee grounds, crushed eggshells, then pour a watering can straight into the basket. A day later, reach your fingers into the soil, halfway between the basket and the outer wall. In many climates, you'll feel it. The moisture holds longer than a flat bed that's been watered the same way, because the water isn't spreading across the surface and evaporating, it's moving through the root zone like a slow underground wick. You'll also notice the plants closest to the center respond first. Leafy greens stand taller, color deepens, and growth becomes noticeably more even across the circle as the compost core switches on. That said, the keyhole isn't a miracle, it's a system, and systems have rules. If you want it to stay clean and pest-free, avoid meat, dairy, oily foods, and pet waste in the basket. In very wet climates or heavy clay, prioritize drainage and don't overwater. The core soggy layers can stall decomposition. In extreme heat, you'll still mulch the surface and water consistently. The design saves water, but it doesn't cancel summer. And if you plan to use gray water, keep it mild. No harsh detergents, bleach, or salty cleaners, because you're feeding a living soil, not just wetting dirt. Treat those limitations as guardrails, and the payoff is exactly what the design promised: less hauling, less kneeling, and a bed that gets better the more you use it. Building a keyhole garden is a rewarding weekend project that uses mostly recycled materials. You don't need a degree in engineering, just a little elbow grease and a vision for your homestead. Step 1. The foundation and the notch. Pick a sunny spot that gets at least 6 hours of light. Clear a 6 to 8 foot circle. You can even lay down wet cardboard first to smother any existing weeds, a technique often called lasagna gardening. Mark your center and the keyhole notch facing north or west if you're in the scorching southwest to manage sun exposure. Step 2. Raising the walls. This is where your personal style shines. You can use field stones, recycled bricks, cedar timbers, or even decorative cinder blocks. The goal is to build a wall about waist high, roughly 3 feet. This height is the secret to a pain-free back. It allows you to stand or sit while you work, leaning against the sturdy wall for support. Step 3. The compost core. In the center, install your basket. A simple cylinder of chicken wire or hardware cloth about a foot wide works perfectly. Ensure it stands about a foot taller than your soil level so you can easily toss in scraps without bending over. Step 4. The layering, the lasagna method. Now we fill. We don't just pour in bags of dirt. We build a living foundation. Bottom layer. Large rocks, broken pottery, or thick branches for drainage. Middle layers. This is where we get creative. We use browns, cardboard, dry leaves, and straw alternated with greens, fresh grass clippings, or aged manure. Top layer finish with a high-quality mix of topsoil and compost. Crucial tip: slope the soil downward from the center basket toward the outer walls. This gradient uses gravity to help the nutrient-rich water reach every corner of the bed. A keyhole garden is a space-saving powerhouse, but it's a focused environment. Because the center is so rich in nitrogen, it's a paradise for leafy greens. Imagine stepping out of your kitchen to harvest vibrant Swiss chard, crisp lettuce, and iron-rich spinach, all growing just feet from your door. Root vegetables like carrots and beets also love the deep, loose soil we've built. To keep your mini ecosystem healthy, try companion planting. Tuck onions and garlic near the edges to naturally ward off pests and add a few marigolds to attract pollinators. It's a beautiful, dense tapestry of food that requires far less maintenance than a traditional row garden. Have you ever tried growing a polyculture like this, where every plant helps the other? Once your garden is established, the daily chores change. Instead of wrestling with a heavy hose and chemical sprayers, your routine becomes a quiet ritual of reconnection. You take your kitchen scraps, vegetable peels, coffee grounds, eggshells, and toss them into the center basket. You pour your gray water or collected rainwater directly into that same core. You aren't just gardening anymore, you're managing a cycle. You might notice the soil settling over the season, what we call the slump. Don't worry. That's just the organic matter doing its job, breaking down and feeding your plants. Every spring, you just top it off with a little more compost and the engine keeps humming. It's a sustainable, low-cost way to ensure your family has fresh, organic produce, even when the grocery store prices climb. The real magic of the keyhole garden isn't just about the vegetables, it's about breaking free. In our modern world, we've been taught that we are consumers of the garden, that we must buy the soil, buy the fertilizer, and buy the solution to every problem. The keyhole garden proves that we can be producers and stewards instead. It's a design that respects our resources and our bodies. It reminds us that even in the face of a changing climate or shifting seasons, we have the tools to be self-sufficient. This is more than a gardening method. It's a statement of resilience that you can leave as a legacy for the next generation. As we wrap up today, take a look at that corner of your yard, the one with the poor soil or the patch of weeds. Could that be the site of your new engine of survival? Building a keyhole garden is a small act that ripples outward. It reduces waste, conserves our precious water, and provides health for your table. If you've been waiting for a sign to get back into the dirt, without the pain or the price tag, this is it. I'd love to hear from you. Have any of you tried a central composting bed before, or do you have a favorite recycled material you'd use for the walls? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might just be the inspiration another gardener needs. If you found this helpful, consider sharing this video with a friend who loves the homestead life as much as we do. Until next time, keep feeding the soil and let nature do the rest. Happy gardening.